What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other great host of this show, Nick. And Nick, the Rams host the Bills this weekend. The Bills are currently at 10-2. The Rams are a 500 football team at 6-6. It's going to be a really difficult matchup, and we're going to get into the preview in this one. But before we do that, first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm great. It's Christmas season, getting ready to come home, hang out in Jersey with you and my nephew for a little bit. So really excited about that. But in the meantime, have to worry about playing the potentially best team in football right now, which is terrifying.
Yeah, you're playing two of the best football teams in the 3-week span in the Eagles and the Bills, two potential Super Bowl caliber teams. The two favorites for MVP right now, Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley, both coming into your building. So it's going to be really, really difficult to overcome this. But we're going to get into all the details, specifically the offense, why we feel like the offense since week 8 has progressed in the right direction with Matthew Stafford under center, doing everything he does from a pre-snap perspective. McVay with his condensed formations, play action, our dual-headed rushing attack, and then defensively, right? Don't over pursue Josh Allen. You can't blitz him a ton. There's a lot that you have to be able to keep in mind when you're going against the MVP favorite in Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. But before we jump in to all of that, I want to make sure to remind everybody too. Like and subscribe. We've been posting more shorts, more episodes, previews, all the details. We're on X, we're on Blue Sky. Everywhere you need to find us on social media, we are there. So we appreciate your guys' support as always, and just want to remind everybody to like and subscribe. All right, so over the past couple of days, the most recent news that came out of Rams Nation was Emmanuel Forbes Jr., former 16th overall pick from the 2023 draft class, was claimed by the Rams on the waiver wire per Adam Schefter. So this was a move that I felt like a lot of Rams fans were kind of uncertain about. This guy is 160 pounds soaking wet. He's struggled mightily in man coverage. Obviously, the Commanders and they've been trying to kind of develop some of their defensive backs. And it's not something that, Rams fans should be overly excited about, but it's a player that you could kind of put in a zone sub package. You could put him in red zone situations. And Akello Witherspoon actually got 0 snaps in this last game. You saw Darius Williams struggle a little bit last week too against MVS. So I think it's just kind of something to monitor over the next couple of weeks. As they onboard him, you pair him back up with Cam Curl, has a relationship going back to Washington. So I think that's going to be an interesting one to monitor, just considering how great he was coming out of college, his great ball skills. McVay spoke very highly about him. So I think that's going to be one to kind of keep your eyes on.
Definitely. I mean, Dan Quinn, great defensive mind. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he is as a defensive coordinator. And I mean, the defense on the Commanders this year, they do not have a lot of talent over there, and they have not been able to figure it out overall. So I'm shocked that they would just completely get rid of this guy as opposed to trying to develop him. But I mean, opportunity strikes, and the Rams took out a claim for him, and I mean, I think it's going to pay off. It's somebody that's so young, and you can really reuniting him back with Cam Curl, his former college teammate, I think is just a great chemistry move.
You get the 5th-year option because he's a first-round pick, and also I think it's really not that much of a cap hit over the next 3-4 years. I think it's like $5.5 million. And Dan Quinn, what I wanted to mention too and forgot to was Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs. He's made these guys Pro Bowlers, but to not be able to develop this kid is a little bit concerning. So you can go both ways. It's a low risk, high reward type of claim. Yeah. So something to keep an eye on in a secondary that has been struggling. So here's what we're looking at for the remaining schedule. So we mentioned this in the last episode. Obviously, we got Buffalo this weekend. Then we're away versus San Francisco on a short week, who are struggling and are all banged up on Thursday Night Football. Then we're in New Jersey for the Jets, and then home against the Cardinals and home against the Seahawks. 4-1 is the goal, and it starts this week. And here's what we're looking at in terms of playoff odds. So you're telling me there's a chance. Rams currently sit in 3rd place in the NFC West with a 17% chance of making the playoffs and a 15% chance of winning their division entering week 14. So a win over the Bills would boost their playoff odds up to 26%. while a loss would drop them all the way down to 11%, giving them 15% leverage, the 5th highest of the 15 NFC teams with a game this week. So something to monitor, right? Obviously, your
low, right?
go up. It does feel a tad low.
17% feels really low, and then only moving up to 26 after beating the Buffalo Bills also feels really low. But I guess it's just, it's just how the chips fall with the rest of the division. But I mean, let's say Seattle, who's on top right now, just continues out their reign. You get to play them the end of the season in your house, and you already beat them once this year. So, I mean, like 17 just feels like you're kind of insulting this team a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, it does. We were looking at the NFC North standings, the South, the West, and the East, and the Commanders obviously have one of the wild card spots, and then the North is the one who's consuming all the wild card spots. So really, the path is you got to be able to win the division. The Commanders, the Vikings, and the Packers are the 3 teams in wild card spots right now, with the Eagles, the Lions, the Falcons, and the Seahawks leading each of their respective divisions. So, you got to be able to go on a little bit of a run here, and you got to win your division rivalry games towards the end of the season. But the good news is that you're hosting them. So to get into this one, I think we all know that the Rams have had legitimate pass protection issues. Like, it's probably the biggest thing to kind of call out. It's been the offensive line health. It's no secret to anyone that's been watching this team all season. But I feel like within this game, there's 4 ways specifically that they can completely eliminate those issues, as the Bills aren't really a blitz-heavy defense in any regard, which is good for the Rams' sake. Obviously, you got to keep your eyes on Von Miller and some of their talented pass rushers. But what you're looking at with Matthew Stafford, and the 4 ways that you could potentially eliminate these issues, is play action. So Matthew Stafford's been really, really good with play action. Used play action on half of his dropbacks against the Saints at 50%, his highest play action usage rate in a game in the next gen stats era. So going all the way back to Detroit. Condensed formations, which I think is a big one to kind of call out, because the Rams have aligned in condensed formations on a league high 60.9% of plays this season. And Stafford's got a really high success rate, completed 71% of his passes out of condensed formation, which ranks in the top 10. And the Bills defense has struggled to defend against passes in condensed formations. They allowed a 75% completion percentage, which is tied for the Falcons for the highest mark in the NFL. So I think the Rams, what they're kind of gravitating towards in recent weeks, is beneficial to be able to put together a game plan against the Buffalo Bills. Another thing is running early and often with a dual-headed attack. Sonic and Knuckles is what we're trying to replicate. And then the offensive line health, which is pretty much back to full speed. So those 4 ways, I feel like, are ways you can kind of get the offense rolling in this one, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, if they really think that they got Blake Corum really high in the draft. And I feel like that they thought that he could be somebody that could be like a complimentary back with Kyron. So I think if you can get both of them going, and we saw it last week with the 49ers against the Bills will let you run in between the 20s. Like, they will let you get downfield, and then it's like, all right, now you got to figure out how to get into the end zone. So I 100% agree with that. I think that 1-2 punch with both of them, and get them, active in the pass game too. I think that's where you can really excel this offense.
Spot on. You mentioned that in the last episode. It was widely accepted by Rams fans who commented on the video. It's like, yeah, we got to get him involved as a pass catcher. You go back to the Vikings game, and Kyron Williams had 8 targets or 7 targets in that game. So, I mean, that's a game where you really get your offense rolling. And this is what this Bills defense looks like against the run. They're 18th against the run. They're allowing almost 122 yards per game and 7 touchdowns. They're much better against the pass. They're 8th against the pass, 199.7 yards allowed per game, 16 touchdowns in total. So obviously their defense is pretty talented. You got guys like Taylor Rapp in the secondary, Damar Hamlin, Cam Lewis, Rasul Douglas, Christian Benford, Taron Johnson. They're all playing really good football right now. You got to be able to keep them guessing. But since week 8, and we mentioned this on X, this team has been playing pretty decent football from an offensive perspective, at least better football than what we saw in weeks 1 through 7. So that was the win against the Minnesota Vikings. It's when you got Puka and Kupp back.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that Vikings game a lot, but it's the only game where from start to finish the Rams look like a complete team. And it's what you have to replicate to beat a team like the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we saw it like last week. The 49ers got out of that game against the Bills early. They were breaking some runs off, but then, it just became struggle after struggle, and they weren't able to stop the run. And you can blame that on the weather, but there was just like the 49ers are a good team having a bad year. They did not bring their A game, and they got dismantled and looked like the worst team in the league against the Bills, which is just very much a possibility, I think, with the Rams. But that's why, you have to keep thinking about that Viking game and be like, we have to replicate what we did here. The offense and defense both have to be stout.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what's been going on since week 8. So Matthew Stafford has thrown for 8 touchdowns, third most on downfield passes, 10+ air yards since week 8, after having been the only qualified quarterback without a downfield touchdown pass in weeks 1 through 7. So he completed 54.8% of his downfield pass attempts while averaging 11.3 yards per attempt since week 8, compared to just 43.1% and 9.4 yards per attempt prior. So, they're pushing the ball a little bit more. They're getting in play action, the condensed formations. You're getting some more explosives, which is very much a positive sign. And since Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp returned, Matthew Stafford has over 1,500 yards. He's got 14 passing touchdowns, both top 3 in the league since then. And he's been doing it with an offensive line that has been mightily struggling. So play action usage being way up, I think that's a really positive sign. But their secondary is a massive strength. So you got to be able to keep these guys guessing. You got to be able to keep them on your toes. And you got to have a quarterback who can navigate pre-snap. Jordan Rodriguez just put out an incredible piece with another beat writer from The Athletic, just about all the things that Matthew Stafford does from a pre-snap perspective, with the short motions, multiple motions, navigating things at the line of scrimmage, calling out blitzes. Like he's an incredible player, but post-snap, what he's able to do with his back turned to the defense in the play action game is even more impressive. And when McVay, I feel like when he gets a little bit nervous and a little bit foggy, he tends to lean on the play action game. It reminds me of the 2019 season when they couldn't pass protect Jared Goff, and he was like 13 of 13 in the first half with 3 touchdowns of like a week 10 game. And those are the kind of things you have to be able to kind of keep in mind as you're trying to put together a really good game plan. But I feel like running the ball early and often is extremely important. We talked about how the Rams have struggled in pass pro, but they get going in the run game. They talked about it last year. Guys like Kevin Dotson are playing really good football. Rob Havenstein's going to be healthy in this game. You got Bo Limmer playing good football up front at the center position as a 6th-round rookie. So you got to be able to lean on those guys. And if Kyron and Blake Corum can go over 5 yards per carry each, you got a legitimate 1-2 punch. It reminds me of, like, the Rams played good football in December. But going back, to 2017, 2018, the C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley years, the Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers years, when things are going well, you got a little bit of a 2-headed attack. And this is another way to replicate it. And they're doing it well over the past couple of weeks.
One of the reasons why I think the Bills and the Eagles are positioned to be potentially the representatives for each of their conference is because they have that run game and like a solid defensive front. But mainly it's the run game, because in December and January football, that is what can get you, control the clock, get you into the red zone. And yeah, that's what the Rams, I think, have struggled to be this year. I mean, a lot of that deals with the offensive line, but also a lot of it is dealing with the talent of our running game in general. Because, we don't have Barkley, we don't have the best, the MVP top candidate quarterback right now who can run 100 yards a game. So the closer we get to that, I believe our playoff percentages can actually, skyrocket and become more of that C.J. Anderson, Todd Gurley team that the Los Angeles Rams fans were introduced to.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, the league changes so frequently. It's not, this pass heavy attack. It's being able to win at the line of scrimmage right now. It's being able to pound the rock. Those are the good football teams. The teams with the really good run schemes. I'm thinking about the Bills, the Eagles, the Packers. Coaches that could really draw up a solid run scheme and get the offensive line rolling early and often. It enables you to establish an identity. And you need that in December and January and February potentially to be able to win Super Bowls at this point in the NFL. It's not 2021 where Matthew Stafford's dropping back and empty and he's got to be able to beat you with his arm. That offense is not working. You got to make adjustments, and I feel like Sean McVay is doing that. But you really got to be perfect in the red zone. And Braden Fisk was actually mentioned on the Coach McVay show with JB Long. They were showing clips of his return. It was so funny. The cutback that he had right before he got in the end zone, he actually switched the ball from one hand to the other to protect it. This guy looks pretty good in the open field with the ball in his hands. I would love to see him in a fullback role, pounding the rock, lead blocking for Kyron Williams or Blake Corum. So you got to be perfect in the red zone in this game, again, because you were perfect against the Saints. But to be able to do it again, it's a way that you could potentially beat Buffalo and not turn it over.
Yeah, perfect against the Saints in the red zone, sure. But, I mean, it took you an entire half to get there. And, like, if you struggle and you go, I think, honestly, 2 3-and-outs in a row from the Rams might be enough for this game to be over. Like,
that's when Nick will send the text that will say this game's over.
Yeah, I mean, one alone. Like, if we get the ball and we start and it's 3-and-out Rams, then I'm not feeling too good on on our chance.
I don't disagree with you whatsoever. If they get down in this game 10-0, 14-0, it'll
probably be maybe they cover plus 4.5, but I doubt that they would be able to come back against the Bills 14-0. Although there was that 2020 game, in the 2020 season where we were down, I think it was 21-0 against the Bills, and then we rallied like all the way back, and there was like a phantom pass interference call on Jalen.
That's
Ramsey
right.
That cost them that game. But I mean, as completely different teams. I mean, Robert Woods and Goff were still on the team. So
I think that phantom pass interference call was actually on Darius Williams.
I really want to say it was Ramsey, but
I know. Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, but it was late in the fourth quarter. The Rams had came all the way back. That team was actually really fun. Yeah, that team was a lot of fun.
That 2020 Rams
divisional round. Yeah,
they were good.
I thought they had a chance. A number one defense. They got all.
I really thought that they were that they could represent the NFC in that Super Bowl because we beat Tampa, and Tampa was kind of like the team that year, and we didn't have Donald in that game, and the Packers completely exploited.
That's right. Donald had the oblique that everybody was kind of teasing him about. He's like, "No, don't mess with me. Like, that is not funny. Like, I'm in pain." And it was one of the few games that he missed in his career with the Rams. That was a tough one. But let's get into Josh Allen, the MVP favorite, Haley Steinfeld's future husband. He is so damn good against the blitz. He has thrown for 848 yards, 8.5 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, which are both most in the NFL, and 1 interception against the blitz this season. So he has just been dominant. If the Rams are going to blitz in any capacity, it's got to be really well timed. It's got to be disguised. 4-man pressures are going to be essential just to keep him flustered and to maintain stability in the second level. Like, you're not going to be sending a Cam Curl. You're not going to be sending a Quentin Lake. You got to be able to be stable on the back end to be able to hold up for when Josh Allen breaks free, when he evades pressure, and he inevitably completes a pass down the field for 30 yards.
Yeah.
So
we were talking before the episode. It's like, I don't even really want them to bring the blitz at all. Just bring 4, have a spy, and that's kind of what you have to do. Because I don't want to see them bringing the blitz. Allen breaks 1 tackle, and then it's 45 yards down the field because he's just so capable of that. But I also feel like you are getting them at a good time. I mean, everybody's talking about how he's the unanimous MVP favorite right now. And he's, he caught a touchdown pass that he threw to somebody that was pitched back to him. So, I mean, like, the mojo is kind of, going the other way right now, I think. You have a chance to quiet that situation.
Yeah. I'm hoping so. And the Rams have some pretty good candidates that could spy the quarterback. You got a guy like Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, even Christian Roseboom has been playing really good football, are all spy candidates just to be able to kind of monitor Josh Allen, run sideline to sideline, and to be able to kind of contain him, at least be able to negate the 15, 20-yard plays. He's going to run for 7 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, but to be able to get in front of him and to stop him at times and to keep them behind the sticks as frequently as possible is really important. And then containing and sealing the edges, I feel like is one thing, because this defensive line, they're young. You could chalk it up to them being young, but they've struggled against quarterbacks who can scramble. It's inevitable. Guys like Brock Purdy, guys like Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts, they struggle in those kind of situations because they over pursue. And part of it, like I mentioned, is due to being inexperienced, but linebackers got to be able to move sideline to sideline. You got to be able to defend and contain every blade of grass in this game. And that's what's going to have you feeling nicey if you can get that done. If you could keep this team within their,
If Derek Carr has an iota of legs on him, that we could potentially be sitting here at 4-7 right now, thinking about how the season's over and how we're going to get dismantled by the Bills. But I mean, that's what's so good about our defense. It's like they can, like those young guys in Fisk and Burst and Kobe, like they can get home if the guy sits in the pocket. But when you have a Hurts or a Allen, it's a lot tougher for them. I mean, they're still young. Like you still have to, treat them like they are rookies, because most of them are.
They are. They definitely are. And here's where Josh Allen really succeeds. It's his 40 pass attempts after scrambling from the pocket this season. It's the 5th most in the NFL. He's just, he's so physically dominant. He's the best player in the league right now, and he's the regular season MVP favorite. He's minus 225 right now to win the MVP. Saquon Barkley's plus 350. Lamar's at plus 900. There's Jared Goff, 4th overall in MVP voting right now, plus 1,200. But Josh Allen he's just a different beast. Like when people ask me, like, what do you want like the Rams to do from a mobility perspective and from a backup quarterback or a future draft pick to eventually replace Matt Stafford? I want Josh Allen. I want Justin Herbert. I want these big physical, they put so much pressure on your edge rushers. They put so much pressure on your interior defensive linemen. Your secondary's got to hold coverage for extra periods of time because they can extend plays. They can move the pocket. He's so unbelievably talented, which is why this team is not only he's got the quarterback to win the MVP, but I think it's going to be the team that ends up winning the Super Bowl this year, considering the state of the AFC.
I feel that as well. I really think it's the Bills' year. It really feels like it. The Chiefs are not really. I mean, they like to play with their food, so there is still a chance where if it's Kansas City and Buffalo, who knows what happens. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. But at the same time, they're going to drop a couple of these games. I think, like same with the Lions and the Eagles. It's just like it is so tough to beat. I mean, they're like 10-2, 11-1, 10-2.
And they've won 7 in a row. Yeah.
Right. We'll talk about it in Nick's picks, but like it feels like the time for the Titans to kind of just not the actual Titans, but the Titans of the league to just fall, because it's just too much to have all these teams being like only have 2 losses and then being so early in the seasons. Like some chips are going to fall. The ball's going to bounce the wrong way for you eventually. It's just
and there's a couple examples this year where the ball did bounce the wrong way. The Ravens and Texans earlier on this season. Bills struggled to control time of possession. They struggled on 3rd down. They were combined 6 of 27 on 3rd down in their 2 losses so far this year, and were a combined 2 of 5 in the red zone. So not only did they barely get to the red zone, but they were kept out of the end zone once they got there. And, I think this struggling secondary is going to be tested. You got guys like, Mari Cooper. You got guys like Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Matt Collins. They're all weapons in their own capacity. Both of their tight ends average over 10 yards per reception. So you need guys like Kobe Durant, who's playing his ass off, playing Pro Bowl caliber football. It's going to be opposite of Darius Williams in this game. Quentin Lake, Cam Curl. You need big games from all of these guys. And here's where we're netting out in terms of Jared Verse for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's minus 125. Quinyon Mitchell is plus 150. I think and Braden Fisk's also 3rd overall, and Cooper DeJean is 4th. So credit to Howie Roseman, credit to Les Snead. But these are the kind of games you're going against the MVP favorite. You can get a forced fumble, you get a sack, you get a ton of pressures. That's going to propel you to top tier in terms of Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. So keep your eyes on that for Jared Verse.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big game for that. But I mean, more importantly, for like the team overall, this is like if you want to really consider yourself a team that can not only make it to the playoffs, but like make a run, you have to, like we've been saying it, you have to either beat the Eagles or the Bills because those are the top teams. So it's like if you really believe that you can legitimately make some noise in the playoffs, host a playoff game, then you gotta you gotta come correct in this game. 2-3 and outs, and I'm immediately pessimistically tweeting.
Jumping ship.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't play good football, I think we have some Knicks picks this week. They could potentially make us some money, maybe save us some stress.
Yeah.
What do we
I mean,
want?
hey, I'm ready when you are. I mean, the stress will be there, but either way.
Let's do it.
You got the so
Wait, did I lose you? Oh,
no, I'm here. We have a theme song from last week that we're gonna bring on to this week, but I saw Wicket last weekend, and if I were to do a theme song this week, it would have been Wicket, but maybe I'll do it next week. Maybe it's not time.
Save it for later. Save it for
Yeah.
next week. All right,
But
we got a theme song.
Yeah, we do have one, so why don't you let it fly?
If I gave you a pick, you should take it. We've been on a cold streak, but we'll make it. No, with all of my heart, you can't face me. When I am with you, there's no bet I'd rather place. No bet I'd rather place. Go against Dean. No bet I'd rather place. When I am with you, there's no bet I'd rather place.
That's right at the top. Instantly right at the top. It's what it is? It's the lyrics. It's the detail. It's the subtle shots at the older brother that propel things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody loves a little. That song was huge when Dean and I were in college. We're big fans of that one. Shout out to No Bandits. I think that's their name.
Big pregame song.
Huge pregame song. Huge. But all right, Knicks picks. It's Wednesday, so we have an opportunity to bet on the Thursday game, which I feel like we've been doing really well on this week. I think our Thursday record is quite high. Before we get into anything, Dean, do you like anything this week? Like, is there anything that stands out?
I actually wanted to take the Rams at halftime because they were plus 2.5, and I didn't do it in the Saints game.
They were. Oh wow, yeah, you should.
They were, yeah, because they obviously was 6-0 at halftime, and I was going to take Kyron, first touchdown scorer of the game, and he was the first touchdown scorer in the second half. So, you know what? I don't want to take a Rams first touchdowns. I'm going to do it anyway. Puka Nacua, first touchdown scorer of this game.
You better chances with Demarcus Robinson, but okay.
Yeah,
sure.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right. That's a ridiculous. We can't even bet against it because you can't bet against. Fine. Whatever. Puka Nacua first touchdown. Next pick. We're going to start with Packers at Lions. I mean, we were talking about the NFC North. It's just two really good teams, but the Lions are coming in super banged up. They're kind of like escaping games recently. Like they were, they'll demolish a team like the Titans, but when they play somebody that's like the Bears that has a formidable defense, they haven't really been able recently to just like stomp on them. So, and it's just Packers and Lions. Like this is like a fantastic rivalry now. And I think they're going to just split it this year. They split it last year. So, I mean, I just think Packers +3 is just a smart bet. I think most of the money's coming in on the Lions anyway. And the Lions were able to win already in Lambeau. So it just feels like Rams, Niners, Packers, Lions. Like at this point, these are the two best teams in the division. And for the foreseeable future, they'll probably split.
I'm not going to fight that one. I like the Packers to win outright.
Yeah. And, hopefully, I mean, I'm not a Packers guy, and I'm rooting for the Lions. So hopefully the Lions win by 2 and Packers still cover or something weird like that. But I do feel like this is one that the Lions drop. And I think I think that could be good for them if they get a loss. So just to know how to deal with that in the locker room, I think could be overall helpful.
Sure. I think it's a good one. What do you got next?
Panthers at Eagles. I mean, I think the Eagles are just straight up looking ahead right now. It reminds me a lot of Eagles versus Browns, where somehow the Eagles did not cover that game, even though Deshaun had like under 100 yards passing. It was like absolutely grotesque. But the Eagles were able to walk away with the win. And I just think you have this Panthers team that's kind of finding their groove. I mean, they could have a really high draft pick and potentially also stay with their quarterback, which is just really good for the organization. I think the coach is like figuring it out. So I like Panthers plus 13 here. I also like over 46. I think you look at this game and you think it's just going to be like final score 27-13 Eagles. But I really think it's going to be closer than that. I mean, the Panthers brought Tampa to a really like a really tight overtime game. So they could. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win outright, but I think plus 13 is just too much.
Yeah, I would agree. What do we got next? I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to get. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, just me. Just bring it to me. Bills at Rams. Yeah, I mean, I like the Rams. I do. I mean, I don't know if I like them to just completely win out the game, but Rams plus 4.5 feels nice. I feel like it could be a situation where we're driving down the field at the end of the game for like a little backdoor cover situation. But I also think, like I mentioned this earlier in the episode, the Rams you're getting the Bills at a point where everybody is super high on them. And there have been multiple games like the Eagles game where all the money has been on the other side on the Eagles and the Eagles won. And I think, after the Rams lost in primetime against the Dolphins and the Eagles, I think people are just going to be completely off the Rams scent, which I think is good just for the juju of sports. So I'm just going to take Rams plus 4.5. I don't think I can just straight up do Rams money line just because it's also only plus 180. It should be like plus 250 in my opinion.
Yeah, I was thinking plus 225, plus 250.
Yeah, the fact that it's plus 180 just feels a little like, I don't know. It's like that's not enough money for me to put down the money line. I'll take plus 4.5. Hopefully we win, and maybe we cover, and then you're not feeling as crappy because you made some money off of it, and it was close.
Sounds good. And you got a quick pick for us?
Quick pick is, and now this doesn't make sense to me. So Rams are plus 180 on the money line. Chargers versus the Chiefs. Chargers are plus 175 money line. And I'm like, that's really good value. These teams played already this year. Herbert was kind of hurt, and now he's not. I think Harbaugh has completely turned this team around. I think the Chiefs are just voodoo magicking their way into some wins. So, I mean, I think Chargers money line, really good value at plus 175 for just a really good team. And I think that they can totally win that game. Doesn't matter if it's an Arrowhead.
Yeah, I love it. Chiefs got to deal with the devil right now.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, let's run it back real quick. What do you got?
Packers plus 3, Panthers plus 13, over 46 in Eagles Panthers, Rams plus 4.5, and then quick pick. I'm going to take Chargers money line.
I love it. Nick, why don't you sign us off since you're the one that's left on video?
Thanks for listening, Rams fans. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out on Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok. We're on there too. Follow me and Dean. We appreciate you guys listening. It means so much that you care enough to listen to me and my brother talking about the Rams. It's just it's really fun that we get to do this. And yeah, go Rams, everybody. Horns up.
We appreciate you guys. Go Rams. Talk soon. Peace.